What's up guys, and welcome to the channel. I'm Ioana, founder and CEO of Supwell, and today we are looking at two of the shoes that have gotten the most mileage in my rotation over the past year, and that is the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3 and the Saucony Triumph 20. Let's get into it. Both of these shoes from Saucony are max cushioned cruisers. The Shift 3 is built with Saucony's Power Run foam, which is an EVA based compound that's durable, responsive, and on the firmer side, while the Saucony Triumph 20 has Saucony's Power Run Plus, which is a beaded TPU similar to Adidas Boost that's a bit softer and more cushioned feeling underfoot. The Shift will run you $150 while the Triumph will run you $160, though the Triumph 20 is on sale now for $120, and the changes in the most recent iteration, the 21, are only an upper update, so the 120 is a great deal. Now the Shift is part of the Endorphin series from Saucony, which is characterized by this big 4-foot rocker up front, while the Triumph is the brand's long-standing, comfortable, cushioned, premium daily trainer. Now these two shoes are two different approaches to the same question. How can I keep my runner cushioned and comfortable over the long haul? Both of these are going to be high mileage eater shoes, but they're approaching it from different angles. The way that the Shift is approaching that is through this rockered platform, and it's going to give you more stability with this heel clip in the back. Whereas the Triumph is approaching that through the soft cushioned bouncy foam. This is going to be very comfortable underfoot and keep you rolling along, bouncing along for all of those long miles. Alright, so let's get into the specs. Both of these have a max stack, but the Endorphin Shift 3 has a lower drop because it's using this rocker up front to provide that same type of effect. So what that means is there's going to be a lot more cushion in the forefoot of the Shift. What that does out on the run is in the Shift, there's absolutely no ground contact feeling at all when you're running in this. Versus in the Triumph, you're going to get a bit more of that feeling through the forefoot, and the Triumph is also a bit more of a flexible platform due to the foam being softer. Now if we look at the bend test here, you can see the Triumph is letting me bend all the way back. If we try that same thing with the Shift, I get stuck here at about a 45-degree angle. And that's because this thick stack of Power Run is just much firmer and much more rigid. Now, in terms of the upper, we're gonna see some differences. Main thing here, I do wanna call out that I'm using the Run Shield edition of the Triumph. So this black material is water resistant, and it's a bit of a different upper than the standard edition of the Triumph, but we'll just talk about the fit here. And we'll see that the toe box of the Triumph is going to be wider than the toe box of the Shift. But when we get to the midfoot section, the midfoot of the Shift is wider than the midfoot of the Triumph. And this is just a really weird bug of the Triumph. The last on this is just narrower than a lot of the other Saucony shoes. I don't know why they did this, but this midfoot, and if we look and compare on the bottom, this is a great way to see. You can see that this figure 8 situation going on here, they really taper it down in the midfoot. Versus the Shift, this is a nice wider fitting heel and midfoot, but up in the front, that's where it becomes a bit snugger like the rest of the Endorphin series, which is geared toward that fast race day sensation. Out around the back, both of these have relatively padded heel collars. Both of these have a decent amount of structure. The Shift does have this plastic heel clip, whereas the Triumph just has a very, very puffy stack of this Power Run Plus foam. And that's gonna be a big difference between these two out there on the roads. Because the Shift has this wider base coupled with that plastic heel clip, it's gonna provide a lot more solid, planted, stable landings than the Triumph. I can find the heel of the Triumph here to be a bit squirrely because it's not as wide, it's narrower, and it's also a softer foam, so it's not as resilient and it's not as planted to the ground when you smash it down on the heel. Versus this Shift, when you land any type of situation, forefoot, midfoot to heel, you're gonna feel very solid and you're gonna feel very planted. This is another big difference between the two. We see that the Triumph has a lot more coverage of this XT900 rubber. The whole forefoot is covered. There's some cutouts here to save weight, but it's a nice, thick, generous covering of this grippy XT900 rubber versus on the Shift here, we see that we have it more strategically placed. Both of these are seeing some wear through on the heel area on the lateral side, the outside. This Shift right here has about 300 miles. Same thing as the Triumph. This also has about 300 miles, and I've worn through the XT900 rubber on the lateral side of the outsole here in the back. These are both gonna last for about 300 to 400 miles for most runners. Maybe you can get more if you're very efficient. And with the Triumph, if you're a 4-foot striker, you can absolutely get more miles out of this rubber because it's a nice thick coating up here. The back is really where the key area of weakness is for the Triumph. In terms of how they ride, the Shift is gonna be a lot firmer underfoot, and again, accomplishing that mission of forward motion and ease through the rocker. It will give you nice rolling, gentle transitions and a nice, solid, stable, steady sensation as you run, no matter the pace. So the Shift I like to use for my everyday runs, and I love it so much that, again, we're seeing me wear it through the rubber here. Whereas the Triumph, I like to use this one only for those recovery runs and longer, easier long runs. The ride of the Triumph is gonna be a lot bouncier, softer, squishier, not as good for picking up the pace, not as good for doing strides or any other workouts where you need to put in some sections of pickup, just due to this foam being so soft. It is on the bouncier side, so when it was first out of the box for me, I do think I liked it a bit more for runs where I was picking up the pace, but now that we're about 300 miles, it's not doing it for me. I only take this out when it's wet because it has that waterproofing, and I'll pull for other things like the Shift 3 for those everyday training runs. It can get a bit of that quicksand feeling with these, like in any other max cushion soft shoe, where on each step I'm sinking down a little bit. It's not giving me as much energy return, whereas in the Shift, it does give me more energy return because it's firmer. So that's giving me more feedback on my strides when I'm putting out power. All right guys, in terms of who these are best for, I always recommend the Shift as a daily trainer for runners who are bigger or taller, or just like a firmer, more supportive platform for their everyday runs. It has this plastic heel clip on the back here, which is gonna give you stability for planted landings, and it has a really nice fitting upper. The one thing is that this is not gonna be the widest fitting platform. The last is a bit narrow up front, so if you have a wide foot, you might want to look elsewhere for a max cushion shoe, something from Asics like the Super Blast or the Gel Nimbus. Now the Saucony Triumph is going to be a great option for you if you already have a daily trainer, something like the Nike Pegasus, the Saucony Ride, the Adizero SL, the Nova Blast, and you want something that's a bit softer for recovery runs and for long runs. I wouldn't recommend the Triumph as an everyday running shoe just because it is so soft, and I've generally found it best to rotate between firmer and softer shoes. So if you have a shoe that skews firmer, like the Pegasus, for example, or like the Adizero SL or the Saucony Ride, then pairing that with the Triumph for those recovery runs is gonna be a great option for you. In terms of value, I think both of these shoes are worth it. The way that the Shift is priced at $150, there's actually a bit of a discount compared to what we see in the market today. Most of the max cushion cruisers out there are priced at $160 this year. So with this being from last year, we are seeing a little bit of that discount at $150. I anticipate that when the Shift 4 comes out, it will be priced at $160. Now the Triumph 20 at $120 is a great buy for you, and if you don't mind having a bit of weirdness going on with the heel here, I would go ahead and grab the 20 at $120. Or if you really want this bouncy, resilient, beaded TPU foam, but want a better heel lockdown and maybe more stability through the back of that platform, go ahead and pick up the Triumph 21, which is on sale full price at $160. All right guys, so there you have it. That is a comparison of Saucony's two max cushion cruisers, the Shift 3 and the Triumph. Let me know in the comments if you've tried either of these. Thank you for following, for liking. Let me know if you have other comparisons, max cushion cruisers or race day shoes, daily trainers that you want me to check out. And I'll make sure to keep you up to date on the latest and greatest in performance running shoes.